Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, guess what? The NFL annual meeting is over. It was his history, and a lot went on. Well, it's not over. I'm sorry, it's not over. Tomorrow is the last day, and I believe the commissioner generally holds his press conference at 11 o'clock in the morning. So we will see if that is the case this time. I believe it will be. Now, let me try it. There was the NFL had its reception. I wonder if anybody put the NFL reception on Twitter. Um, and I don't see that they did. So, or NFL party. NFL party. I think there are only a handful of people actually have done that. I did something like that. But at any rate, I don't see that anybody did this time. NFL party. There's draft party. But see, the NFL always has this reception on the evening of the Monday of the NFL annual meeting. And it's got different tables with great food, and it's got these areas with all the cocktails you could want to drink and maybe the cocktails you shouldn't drink and all that sort of thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool, but not this time. So, well, as you all come in, I noticed there was a handful of you at the last site, John O'Connell and others. As you all spill in, I'm going to go back here and type NFL meeting on Twitter and pull up some scenes from the meeting. It's I can't play certain videos, but I can give you some ideas. Like here's a cool picture that I think I'm going to use right here. All right, as I do this, so I'm gonna stop that screen and share this screen. This says explore. Nope, not that one. That one. Yeah. Voila. And this is of Todd Bowles. Now, I'll tell you what, having attended a few of these meetings strikes me is there's not a lot of media here. Okay. Not compared to the past when you'd walk in and there were literally wall to wall people. So many media people that you couldn't quite make out which table was which. And just looking at this alone, I can see there may be about 1/3 the number of people that they have been in the past from the media. This photograph shows it. This photograph shows the impact of layoffs in media. And if you think about it further, the media that's there, many of them work for the teams themselves. So these cameras are the Buccaneers people filming head coach Todd Bowles. That's what you're seeing there. And you've got then print person, and two others, okay? And that's it. Except the person holding the camera, who happens to be a guy named Logan B. Robinson, who is the founder and owner of what's called Noel Game Day, Bucks Game Day, these different websites, Men's Journal, covering publishing, that sort of thing. Okay, and but other than that, you don't see at all. Do not see a lot of media, and you just don't, and that really hallmarked the event. And it's sad that we're at this point where so little money is going into media that people cannot get paid to go to events like this and cover them, especially with video. All right. So you have a handful of media people. That's what this shows. That's what this shows. This shows a handful of media people and not much else. Hey, how you doing? You just came in. This is what I was showing you. Okay, not a lot of media people at the NFL annual meeting. That's what this shows. Not a lot of media people. All right, and I'm going to scroll through, and there's one. Show more, and that's from the combine. This is discussing the rule. That's Mike Reese talking with. That's Kevin O'Connell. But again, look in the background. Look at this video. What
do you see from Gerard from having?
Excuse me. As I didn't mean to enlarge it that much, like full screen. Okay, but I did mean to enlarge it like this. All right. And the point I'm making is that if you take a look as we go along, look behind him. There's not a lot of media here for the NFC coaches breakfast. There isn't. Again, not compared to the past, and I'll be more succinct, not compared to the pre-pandemic past. All right? At all. Not a lot. This is that's John Harbaugh Monday morning. That's Jared Bell on the right with the gray African American gentleman over there. And then I don't know who the gentleman was for the Ravens there. And I'm trying to figure out who's talking. I don't know who that is. But at any rate, that's, yeah. So they're all setting up. Two gentlemen with the Ravens. That's Sean McVay. Okay. And this is takeaway from Andrew Berry at the NFL Annual League meeting. He's the GM for the Cleveland Browns. And this is a little scrum of people talking with Jason Lick. Always draws a big crowd, and why not? He's the local favorite. Why? It's in Orlando. So you're going to have, hey, Florida media coming to be a part of it. But even as I look at the faces there, as the camera pans and I see the heads of some of the folks there. I'm not trying to get the, okay. But as I see the heads of the folks, like I don't see Jenna Lane there. I wonder if she's still working. She's with ESPN. I'll be shocked if she wasn't there. Mainstay. And so that's a beautiful hotel. There's Maseratis parked out front. I love going there. And we'll get back in the future. But that's it. You don't see here's another one. I saw that one. People in the hallway. That was early on. That was Sunday. That was it. All right. So there were not a lot of media there. There were not a lot of media there. It explains why the majority of YouTube videos that I saw were initially of those that were there, the majority of videos were from team media representatives. That's a first. When I was there, I made a ton of videos. Go over to Dan Quinn's table. Go over to Jason Garrett's table. Go over to Jay Gruden's table. You know, I didn't miss a beat with YouTube. Zenny62 in developing what we do. So looking at this, it saddens me, but also tells me there's still a market for the kind of approach that we do. But you didn't come here to talk about that. You came here to discuss the rules changes, and that's exactly where I'm going to go to next. But I had to get that out of the way. I had to note that because it's disappointing, okay? It really is. It's disappointing to see that there aren't teeming of people. Draft will be different. I hope. All right. But what's happening in this country with this declining economy, with this system of what someone would call neo-medieval economic behavior has got to be countered. We've got to have an active government that subsidizes operations and jumpstarts our economy. What is being allowed to happen is criminally bad in terms of our weak economy. It's showing up all over the place. Now, let's talk about this. I'm going to make, this is NFL playing rules summary from the NFL annual meeting. I will zoom in and make it better for you to read as we go along. I think surprised you guys didn't come along. I was waiting for John or Colin, the other guys, to come in. Maybe you're there. All right. One more time. I'm wondering if there's something that I'm doing which causes people to be able to come in sometimes and not. But this is also if you go to nflnews.byzenny62.com and click on the first panel on the left on your laptop. That's what this is. Okay. That's what this is. And so what I'm going to do is as I look at that, I see something I'm not quite comfortable with, not referring to a highly technical issue, folks, highly technical. And I need to determine if it is, and I believe it is, my imagination. It is not my imagination. It is true. And I'm going to fix it right now. Dun, dun, dun. And you will not even be aware of it. Okay. Well, yeah, you will. But I need to fix it. You say, what is it? What is it? And I would say, I'm not telling you. Nah, 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 nah. All right. But I found what this is. And okay. Making just these a few small changes. Hey, John, you made it. Yay. Bear with me, John. I am just making a change to the blogs. I just noticed something that I didn't quite prepare for. And John, could you please repost and ask your question yet again so I can make sure that I get to it? And then we can address it. I am actually improving the page from the annual rules topic right now. So I didn't quite like a certain element of its layout. But you wrote something, John. Oh, by the way, how are you doing? Great to see you. And thank you for your support over the years. And what's on your mind? Before you arrived, I put up a picture from the NFL annual meetings, NFC coaches breakfast, noting that by my eyeball estimation, 1/3 of the media that was at the NFL annual meeting in 2019, in terms of number, was present this time. I mean, you could tell. That was, wow. I'm like, what the heck? It saddens me that we don't have as much money to slosh around the economy so that people can go and cover these events. Instead, they're getting laid off. Chop, chop, chop. They're getting laid off. And it's bad for the country. Just bad for the country. All right. So I found this. And yep, sure enough, I found the culprit. Install that there. And then I'm going to go and hit this. Ooblish play. And close that. And then close this. Right. And then go to Cloud, my friend, and make my friend do a certain thing, which will happen in 1 second. Now, while I'm doing this, I also want to say that regarding the rules are done. I know there's some people who don't like them, but I wholeheartedly applaud them because of the simple fact that players now are arguably superhuman. They can lift on a good day a BW Beetle, and the newer version on a good day. It'd be hard lift, but some of them can do it, and women too. All right, and the older versions of the Beetle, absolutely, definitely, okay, definitely. So now what I did was, all right, this is what I did. Here it is. This should result in a better text. Yes. Ta-da. I did it. Hey, everybody's here. Okay. This is what I did, folks. This is what I did, right? Not there. Excuse me. Boom. There. All right. That's what I did. And zoom, actual size, me. Okay. How come it's not giving me page to zoom? Shouldn't be. All right. At any rate, it's for some particular reason it is not as large as I think it should be. That's weird. Whatever. John says, I'm here. It's okay. Then he says, why do you think the NFL doesn't also adopt the 4th and 20 or 4th and 15 as another option for an onside kick? That's a good question. I believe that actually came up, the 4th and 15 issue. And I think the idea was that, as I recall, I know it wasn't supported. The question is, here it is. Okay, why do you think the NFL doesn't adopt it? Well, they tried to adopt it and it wasn't in favor. And I believe that it may have to do with the simple fact that if it's a 4th and 20 or 4th and 15, there's going to be a turnover on downs anyway. But actually, that's a very good question. I don't know why. I know it was a point of discussion. What's going to my mind's eye is, hey, I believe I may have a video on that. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to go and search the matter and see what was said, rather than shine on like I have an idea when I don't have a clear one. Onside kick alternative, and then we'll find out. Okay, yeah, what John is talking about is an XFL rule, and it goes like this: instead of an onside kick, the team that would otherwise be attempting the onside kick would instead go for a 4th and 15 from their own 25-yard line. If they convert, they get to keep the ball. For a decade, 2-possession games have lost some of their interest because of the kickoff rules of the NFL. And so a fellow named Dario takes that up, and he says that this is started with the XFL wanting to scratch that football itch. And he says that we got a glimpse of it during week 1 matchup between the San Antonio Brahmins of the XFL and the St. Louis Battlehawks. The Battlehawks were down 15-3 with under a minute to go in that game. St. Louis scored a touchdown and went for the 3-point conversion and went for the onside kick, converted, and ended up winning the game 18-15 in a dramatic 4th quarter finish. NFL fans will read that last sentence scratching their head while wondering what drugs I must be on, but that's the beauty of the XFL. The teams and the players are more hardcore and unchained when it comes to rules and interactions between teams and fans. The league doesn't abide by the strict code of the NFL. For example, there are no extra points. Instead, you have to go for 1, 2, or 3-point conversions from the 2, 5, or 10-yard line after scoring a touchdown. The clock stops on all first downs, but never on incomplete passes or out of bounds plays. There can be 2 forward passes on a play as long as the first pass is caught behind the line of scrimmage. And a overtime shootout that consists of each team getting these alternate chances to convert 2-point conversions from the 5-yard line. Whichever team converts the most 2-point conversions in the 3 attempts wins. If there's no winner, it goes to sudden death. And so here we get to the NFL to ponder a new onside kick policy. These might seem outlandish, and if you know the NFL, he writes, you know that none of these rules are likely to be implemented. But there is one the league should be considering. And as I say this to you, I should, switch out the screen. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to bother because I got to switch back to this. So what I'll do is I'll just make me bigger like that. All right. But at any rate, the one that the league should be considering, Hidario writes, has to do with onside kicks. On onside kicks, they've become almost obsolete in the NFL since the rules committee decided to prohibit kicking teams to get a running start before the kick. Since 2010, players on kick coverage have been forced to stay on the restraining line until the kickoff occurs, which has drastically dropped the amount of successful onside kick recoveries. Now, just like we planned it, all right? The XFL has introduced a revolutionary idea, and the NFL may be forced to ponder it if it's worth it, to adopt the rule. Instead of an onside kick, the team would otherwise be attempting the onside kick. The team that would otherwise be attempting the onside kick will instead go for a 4th and 15 from their own 25-yard line. If they convert, they get to keep the ball. For over a decade, 2-possession games have lost some of their interests because of the kickoff rules in the NFL. They changed the rule for the safety of the players, which is understandable, so they're unlikely to regress to the old way of onside kicks, but the alternative option from an alternative league may be the solution to the league's onside kick problem. Now, John is saying, okay, that's all well and good, but why didn't they adopt it? And that's not answered here. Now, there was a Reddit that it was taken up, and it said it was unlikely to pass, Reddit thread. So I'm looking for the Reddit thread right now. And it says, I'd be curious to see which owners voted no when who their quarterback is. And it says, I think all it takes is one look at Mahomes' 3rd and 4th and long conversion rate to see why they didn't pass. Because basically, if you're allowing a team to do that, go for a 4th and 15 or 20, and they have an excellent passing game design like the Chiefs do, then it's a cinch they're going to pick it up, right? There's no mystery in it anymore. If they say, you know what, we're going to go for a 4th and 15, and they line up 4 wides on one side, and then Travis Kelce on the other side, and Travis runs, a down and out, and then up, right? So he's catching that, goes down, out, and then up along the sideline. He catches it, picks up not only a first down, but probably runs for a touchdown, okay? So it opens up a lot of opportunities like that. Or the 49ers throwing down the middle to Brandon Ayuk, him catching over the middle as he does on that patented pattern of theirs, and picking up 15 to 25 to 30 yards on a first down. So it's pretty easy to do when you start thinking about it. And I think, John, that may be the answer, is just simply the ease of which teams can pick up that kind of yardage today, and the feeling that there's really no suspense in it. Okay. I go with that. So then it says, are you in favor of the NFL going to an 18-game season and having 2 preseason games and 2 bye weeks for each team? I am not. And the reason is, let me put it this way. If the NFL goes to 18 game season, then they have to add 6 players, which means you're going to have to pay those players, which means more money and everything else. The reason why I'm opposed to it is it's the wear and tear on the body. A human body could take so much hitting over a protracted level of time. And so you have to prepare yourself over a 18 game season for what I call, this is just off the top of my head, segmented football over that season. So if you're saying that 3 times 6 is 18, right? The way I would play it is I would have, over the first 6 games, I would run a certain type of personnel and a certain strategy. Over the middle 6 games, another. And over the final 6 games, another, so that I can literally switch out players, give some more of a rest than others, and then bring people that weren't widely used over the last system in so they can be more used in this new one. It's a way of resting the players, but also changing up my strategy to keep our opponents off base. The alternative, having a player play all those games over that season at the same level of intensity and participation per game, will cause that player to be injured faster, or just simply worn out due to that schedule, that grind. And either if they're not worn out physically, they're worn out mentally. And if they're not worn out mentally, then it's the combination of both physical and mental, degrading the opponent's performance a little bit, just enough for fans to notice that the play is substandard. I disagree with that. So the way to prevent that is to have more players, to be able to spell a player, so you can have more fresh legs coming in. And so you can literally say, all right, you know what? I've got 6 more players. I have the option of which 6 I want. Maybe I want 6 more defenders, right? Or maybe I want 4 more defenders and I'll put them on the line. And then I'll have 2 more interior line people, and one or maybe 1 interior line person on offense, and then 1 skill set person, a wide receiver or a tight end that can also play fullback, right? I want the extra bodies. Because the number of players I'm putting on the field is fixed at 11 in the NFL. I want to be able to take advantage of my ability to plug players in, put them out, let them sit, but not have them burn themselves out. You see them getting out? That's what I'm afraid of. I don't want them to burn out. Okay. So let me go back here, take a look at more of the rules, playing rules. Thanks, John, for the question. Anybody else? Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm going to enlarge this in, and then one more time in, okay? And this is the summary of rules. But first one is by Detroit. I'm going to highlight it like this. See that? See that? Okay. By Detroit. Let me enlarge that. Let me zoom in, okay? And then let me zoom in one more time, okay? Looks pretty good, right? All right. By Detroit, amends Rule 15, Section 1, Article 1 to protect a club's ability to change a third ruling following one successful challenge. All right? So in other words, if I don't like, hey, I'm saying, you know what? I want to challenge the third ruling. They say, okay, now you can go ahead. Here's the other one. By Competition Committee, amends Rule 14, Section 5, Article 2 to allow for an enforcement of a major foul by the offense prior to a change of possession in situations where there are fouls by both teams. So let's say there's roughing the passer on the defense, personal foul, holding on the offense. All right. The competition committee says, all right, the enforcement of the major foul, which is the holding, all right, can happen on change of possession, even though there's roughing the passer on defense. Okay. Competition committee says it amends Article 15, Rule Section Section 15. It amends Rule 15, Section 3, Article 3. I'll try that again. It amends Rule 15, Section 3, Article 3 to include a full ruling of a passer down by contact or out of bounds before throwing a pass as a reviewable play. That's a big deal. Okay? So if a passer is down by contact or out of bounds before throwing the pass, let's say he goes out of the bounds, but he throws the pass, you can review that. Used to be it wasn't reviewable. Now it's reviewable. That's a good thing. By competition committee amends Rule 15, Section 3, Article 9 to allow a replay review when there is clear and obvious visual evidence that the game clock expired before any snap. So, hey, clock ran out, ball wasn't snapped, okay? But you can say, hey, you know what? I want to replay review. You can't do that to me. This fixes that. By competition committee amends Rule 12, Section 2 to eliminate a potentially dangerous tackling technique. 10A, by competition committee for 1 year only. 1 year amends Rule 6 to create a new form of free kick play that is designed to, 1, resemble a typical scrimmage play by aligning players on both teams closer together and restricting movement to reduce space and speed. And 2, promote more returns. Permits the replay official automatically review whether a free kick legally touched the ground or receiving team player in the end zone. Okay? Now let's go back to this. This one is the most controversial, but it just slipped on by. This has to do with eliminating the hip block, the hip check tackle. That's what that is, okay? Now, John says, even though players will be getting extra week of rest with 2 bye weeks, well, yeah, because, again, this goes back to the 18 weeks. 18 weeks is a grind. And so you get the extra rest, but so your body comes in cold. Again, I am for having more players. If you're going to play more games, have more players available so that your team is fresher down the stretch with those extra players than it would have been with the same complement. You're thinking that, oh, just the extra rest is fine. My point is, I don't care if they're getting rest. It's the wear and tear on them. And I believe that during a game, players should be able to be spelled so that the overall impact on their bodies on a per game basis is about the same as it would be, say, with a 16 or even a 15 or 14 game schedule, right? But I am not for 18 games. It's too much football. When I started watching football, we had 14 games. And I think they had just gotten the 14 games. I was born in 62. And then we went from 14 games to 16 games. That was good. Now we want to go 17 games. Okay. And now 18 with 2 preseason games. I believe enough is enough. I do. You look all around football. The XFL doesn't do that. I mean, all right. So it's I am not in favor of it. I am not. I'm maybe you can call me a purist, but even it's not even that. Okay, it's just I think there's a limit to what the human body can stand, and I don't think we want to reach that limit. The XFL only plays 10 regular season games. Why do we need that many games? Oh yeah, I get it, money. I get it. And you're saying you of all people should know that. I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it. But still, doesn't mean I like it. Because I don't, okay? I don't. All right, moving along. Where was I? Oh, excuse me. Yeah. All right. Okay, so those are the changes, folks. I just gave you the summary of all the changes. The details are there. All right. So, what do you think of the hip drop tackle? All right. What do you think of the hip drop tackle or the elimination thereof? I think it's a good idea. But you know, I also believe that NFL uniforms should be designed to have quite literally grapple areas so that if I can't grab you around the waist, that area should be marked clearly in white. So you have this colorful NFL uniform, right? But then you have this splotch on either side that's marked in white. And wherever it is you can't touch that person, you mark it either in white or some color that makes it look like it's an obvious prohibited zone. That's what I think. Okay? That's what I think. John, what do you think? Anybody else? But I believe that all these rules are designed to prevent torn ACLs and other similar injuries to happen to famous players on the run, like quarterbacks. And this is to go a modicum of distance to protect them. That's the idea. Okay. I'm all for the rule. I really am. All right. So I will, at this point, unless someone else has something else to remark, I'm going to do a part 2 of this in terms of my. Oh, here's the other thing. I want to completely shift gears from the rules thing. Still talk about the NFL, of course, but I want to talk about Dennis Allen. And I'm going to make a separate video about this, but it's something that I find that is a little kind of needling about me. And has to do with the that there's a big argument regarding Ryan Ramczyk and the injury issue. That's one thing I think is very vitally important. All right. And I think it really is. But all right. Here's what bothers me. Before I get to the Michael Thomas and the Saints or anything like that, I think I'll show it right here. Hold on a second. I'll stop that screen. Then I'll go and I'll get Mr. Thomas right here. Where is he? Yeah. That's Michael Thomas. All right. Now, while he sits there, I will bring me up here. Okay. Now, here is my issue with Dennis Allen. And it's not personal, but it has to do with this. It's something I realized. How y'all doing? It's something I realized in listening to him. And can't find a decent photograph of Dennis Allen. Media. Come on. Seriously? Media. All right. So, yeah, here's Dennis Allen. All right. And
he was a guy that we were looking at that, look, I don't know that I really knew that he was going to be available.
he's talking about Chase Young. I think it's going to be a heck of a pickup. But what bothers me about Coach Allen in something he said at the annual meeting was this. He remarked, and this has to do with the offensive changes. He said that the reason for the change had to do with the ability to have a player, let's say you're split in, then play flanker or fullback or any place else. That's what he said, okay? And I really like to find the full clip of that here and get that on the board. But here's why it bothers me. And I think the best way for me to do it is to go really kind of, go by screen and just demonstrate it, okay? And the reason, here's what I'm talking about. If I have a pen here, which as it happens, I may not. Always try to maintain a pen here. And somehow or another, turns out I don't have one. So I may just have to do the dog and pony show version of what I'm trying to show. You know, keep my hands like that, and all that crap. Or just describe it. And I think what I'm going to have to do is just go with just describing it. All right. So, or better yet, here's what I'll do. Because I know I've got this. And I use one of my playbooks, the Eagle offense in the NFL playbook. And that's here. Eagle offense of the NFL is any on Scribd. Better yet, Las Vegas Raiders use this. All right. Okay. This is easier to see. So I will bring it up here. Eagle offense in the NFL. Where is that? There. This is it. Okay. So that appears here. All right. Okay. All right. Here's the problem. I'm gonna let this play.
One. None other than Tony Franklin, former Cal offensive coordinator and creator of the Tony Franklin system, wrote the 7 New England.
Okay, I'm stopping it right there, okay? See these? This is a play, all right? Now note, I just have dots. Now I could, and I do have down below, it's a matrix of which dot corresponds to split end, flanker, and so on, all right? But you see where I'm circling this? Let's say that I mark this as X. But what if I have a person who normally plays flanker and I want the flanker to there, or tight end? Well, I just put Y. In other words, I have a whole new play design and I put Y here. Okay, Y. To designate that's where the tight end's going to go. Now, Dennis Allen claims, if I understand him, that his whole reason for bringing in Clint Kubiak was to bring in this offense where the placement of the position of player is agnostic. In other words, they can be anywhere. That's not a new idea, folks. I can do the same thing in the offense that Dennis Allen discarded that was installed by Sean Payton and ran by Pete Carmichael. All I have to do is have a set of plays that says, hey, you know what? I know this says X, but if you're Z, you can go over there and we'll just put X where you were. It's called a switch. X switch, whatever switch, right? I can adjust that like that without having to install an entirely new offense. Nomenclature and all. And he said something that I was credentialed to go to the NFL annual meeting. Had I been there, I would have asked Coach Allen, did you calculate how much time is needed to teach the new offense and terminology to your players so that you know by X date that everybody, or at least a significant percentage of your team, is up to snuff with the terminology, so there is theoretically no screw up. Because what he did was toss out, which would have been done had he been fired anyway, the offense, maybe. As opposed to saying, hey, keep Pete Carmichael, you're fired, but Ronald Curry knows this offense. He knows the terminology. We're going to have him in. Instead, he's a brilliant, or as Dennis Allen himself said to a Buffalo Bills reporter, smart guy. I'm disappointed he didn't do that. So now Derek Carr has to know it all over again. In the previous offense, Jameis Winston had an upper hand over Derek Carr because he knew that offense better. So what did Dennis Allen do? He changed the playing field. He said, okay, we're all going to have to learn this all over again, including Jameis. All right? So Jameis loses his advantage. Does it mean that Derek Carr gains an advantage? Well, he's the starter. They're tailoring everything to him. They're giving him a chance. They're not giving Jameis that chance. There was a lot of crap that went on to that. Now, some people would say, well, it's because Winston didn't run the play that Dennis Allen wanted. If Dennis Allen is that guy to be that upset over letting down or being upset with the quarterback who went with what the players wanted, then he is not going to win a lot of games because the players will always be unhappy with him and they will not be giving their best effort. And I see shades of that already. I believe what Dennis Allen did and what Mickey Loomis allowed him to do will be disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. Because Dennis is literally betting his farm on the ability, unproven ability of Clint Kubiak to install an offense. You don't know how this guy can do that. Show me where he came and did it before. You don't know that. Once he installs it, you don't know that his teaching methods, let alone his cadence, will catch on to where the players run the offense to their optimum ability. You don't know that either. All this is a guess. And then the biggest issue of all is that Dennis brought in Nate Peterman. Now, maybe Nate has some familiarity already with that kind of offense. I mean, let me put it this way. In the totality of football terminology, with that terminology versus the Perkins Erhardt versus the Paul Brown / Bill Walsh system, there isn't that much difference. But it's still different. Okay? And there are different ways of thinking. Okay? And they're literally throwing out the old way. They actually got them a Super Bowl. Think about it. The old way got them a Super Bowl when it was correctly used. The old way created a Jameis Winston that went for 14 touchdowns and just 3 interceptions in 2021 in his best statistical game of his career. All right? The old way, it produced Drew Brees. So you're telling me you're going to toss out that way for this way, whole cloth, rather than think abstractly and say, oh, I can do that within this offense. And then I don't need to upend all these families and have all this, alteration, and then literally risk my own bacon too in the process, because that's what Dennis is doing. If Dennis makes all of these changes and goes 0-for or 4-for or 6-for or 7-for, he's out. And that's what he's flirting with. As far as I'm concerned, it was a gigantic mistake he made. I mean, huge. Huge. Because what I heard him say matched my supposition. And when I heard it, I thought, are you kidding me? That's the only reason you did this? I mean, let's go back to what I'm talking about. I'm going to play for you my video, all right? Listen to this, all right? This is my video, my offense.
The Patriots offense. This is the base formation and play. I call it eagle right or left, H fly motion belly, 1 cross fly pass. Here, as you can see, the primary receiver, the number 1, is going deep here, split end.
Top 10 mistakes that I see beginner videographers making. Number 1 is using the wrong camera settings, not knowing how to...
2, our true primary is also the hot receiver. Note that this is the receiver coming across. Motion. This is generally the halfback. On the snap, immediately wins the swing pass, gets the ball immediately. No waiting. The quarterback is to determine pre-snap where he's going. They're immediately here. 60% of the passes will go to this man. Third receiver, take that backside. This is an alert. This receiver will be wide open much of the time. This is more of a decoy for this play, but we do come back to this receiver in other versions of this play. In all, this is a 70-page playbook, which consists of various versions of the eagle formation, all based around patterns featuring the halfback in motion. In this case, we call it this H fly motion belly. Belly is what we call the swing pass. That's belly. 4 cross fly. They cross and then fly. This is cross fly pass. Cross fly refers to this 3 receiver set and the combination pattern. The fly by what we term here. This is really the split end. The tight end is over here. The other player referred to this as a split end, but we can also put the tight end here. But here, we generally put the tight end here and the split end here. The flanker is here, and the fullback is here.
Heck, I can put my fullback out there.
Fly pattern, cross fly. 4. This is 4th play in this series. Cross fly pass. The person we throw to most of the time, this one. You check 1 pre-snap. You always look for your touchdown, but this is your primary. This is your pre-snap primary here. Post-snap, this is the guy you want to go to. This is the post-snap primary. There are a wide number of variations. This is eagle right, HQB motion, weak dive run, fullback pass option. See here, what's going on is there's no real quarterback motion per se, but the halfback goes in motion toward the quarterback. rather than going all the way across. The snap of the ball becomes possible dive. This is the read option. If the run is open, if they're expecting pass with just 6 in the box, hand off. Give it to them. Otherwise, fake and throw here or here. So I sent my playbooks to the Las Vegas Raiders, and on week 11 against the Washington football team, they actually used a variation of the formation, as you can see. This. The difference is that the Raiders put the 2 of the 4 wide receivers on what I call the wing side or the eagle side, close together and wing here, rather than spreading out the fullback here this way. And they put Marcus Mariota in a quarterback here. So they really didn't understand the intent of the formation from the perspective that I wanted. However, they did design a play that got Foster Moreau here open, who picked up 34 yards. It was a big play. Let's watch it in action. There he goes. See that happen really fast. Let's take a look at it from another angle. Here's the end zone view, and you can see Foster Moreau, who has Dave Casper's number 87 number, tight end. Hunter Renfrow is on the wing. Watch what Carr does. He hits Moreau right there, see? Now, notable is that Hunter Renfrow was on a wing this way and wide open. It's a basic part of the play, but what they didn't do was the bread and butter belly. But the overall concept of getting the middle receiver open because you have the wide slot set up here worked. But they missed the bread and butter, and that's the belly. Still, the Raiders did use the formation. They did use the idea of the Eagle offense and its peculiar approach to the 4 wide receiver 4x1 set concept. Now remember, in the base play, we have the split on the fly. Well, watch what happens. Single coverage.
Open.
A missed opportunity.
Open.
If they had, again, stuck with the base play with the belly.
Yep.
It works. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark OaklandNewsNow.com.
If your husband wants your wife to fall passionately in love with you.
So at any rate, you can see that, look, the Raiders use Mariota in the flanker position. Okay. So again, my point regarding my Dennis Allen issue is the Saints did not have to alter their offense wholesale, bring in Clint Kubiak, letting him change the terminology bring in a whole new playbook at all. He could achieve the same objective with the playbook he had. And I believe they did it now to take away the advantage that Jameis Winston had over Derek Carr, which meant he would be a more effective quarterback, put everybody on the same playing field, and literally start all over again with this concept. Now, I'm happy to be wrong. And I admit part of my point of view is because of the way Jameis Winston was treated by the Saints. And I believe he's going to greener pastures with the Browns and Ken Dorsey. I'm really excited to see what Ken Dorsey does with Jameis Winston and Deshaun Watson. All right. I'm off to bed. It's 1:18 in the morning. Live long and prosper. I'll see everybody later. Thanks. That ends the stream. Thank you.